This is my official tier list ranking for every hunter in Star Wars Hunter Season 3, including our new furry, friend feet tall, Ewok Hunter Pillbush. Let's jump right into it. After serving 2 tours in Vespera Row, I believe I have the combat experience to make judgments about our hunters here today. I also own a Tesla truck if you need any more certification. Not that owning a Tesla truck proves anything other than me wanting to flex. Hey, I didn't make the rules, I just live by them. Unless this is your first day on the YouTubes or social media, I'm sure you're well familiar with what a tier list ranking is at this point. We have different tiers. We will rank each hunter based on my opinion of their overall strength and capabilities as a hunter in game, with S being the greatest tier, the most noteworthy, and D, Teehee, being the category of least capable hunters in my opinion. I don't think I will put any hunters in D tier unless I'm feeling extra sassy today. Let's start things off here with the first hunter you unlock in the game, Amara Vex. She gets the award for being the most basic hunter in the game thus far. Nothing too stand out about her. She has a rifle that basically shoots snowballs, even with the slight buffs she's gotten in the past couple seasons. I'm pretty sure the kid at the back of my class nailing me with a piece of paper from his straw launcher did more damage than Amara Vex could do. Don't get me wrong though, her shoulder rocket is good for finishing off enemies. Come on Avenue, you're better than this. Don't make that joke. Not now, just not now. Her grapple makes traversing the map a lot easier, so she is good for dynamic, but the problem isn't her kit, which is very well put together. It's just the DPS she is putting out isn't enough to compete with the other hunters. As for her ultimate ability, as you might be aware, she is very vulnerable during her rocket barrage, and especially when she does the animation when she pops it. And most of the time, I'm able to duck behind cover or simply walk away from the rockets, and she can't do anything about it because she's hard locked to one position. A suggestion for her is it to at least give her a shield when she is using her ability to make her get more value for the ultimate at least. I can't see a good reason to play Amara besides challenges and her dope skins, which arguably are the best in the game, so she is going into the C tier. Starting off this list already on a good note, I see. Get it? C? Like the number C? Subscribe. Let's move on to Mr. Money in the Bank himself, Sentinel. Sentinel has had a target on his back since the launch of this game, and for good reason. Zena has nerfed the ever-loving SpaghettiOs out of him, but Buddy always manages to get back up. Sentinel is a tank hunter with a large base pool of HP. He comes equipped with a personal shield to deploy, tanking even more oncoming damage. The shield can even block ultimates such as Reeve's Crushing Will. Very balanced if you ask me. Wait, nobody asked? How am I going to receive much-needed admiration from my peers if nobody asked? He arguably has one of the best abilities in the game, the knockdown suppressing shot, which can target specific hunters to knock them out cold and unconscious on the floor. I guess he took a few notes from the diddler, allowing you and your team to pummel them into submission, which most of the time eliminates them even after the nerf. He also has a barrel slam, which is great for knocking hunters off of objectives to not contest, doing extra damage to finish them off. Avenue, please don't. You're stronger than this. And even in the goofy scenarios of knocking them off the map, which is always a good time. Not for the receiving end hunter, but for the Sentinel, unless you're into that kind of stuff. Hey man, a robot don't judge. And for those reasons, I'm out. Oops, wrong show. Wait, this isn't a show. You know, I had to sneak in a SpongeBob meme one way or another. His ultimate is lackluster to say the least. The extra stormtroopers are a good distraction in the midst of chaos, but most of the time they aren't doing crazy damage and aren't too hard to kill. They had to balance him out though in some way, so that makes sense. You might be saying to yourself, alright Avenue, we know where this is going, just pop him in the S tier and let's move on. Wrong. Hear me out here, guys, but Buddy isn't that cracked anymore. Just look at all the nerfs he's gotten in the past few months. The only reason he's viable still is because of Scora spam healing him the whole match. When you kill the Scora, Sentinel isn't that much of a threat anymore, well at least compared to the other tanks. I am extremely tempted to put him in the A tier, dethroning him from the perpetual S tier run he has had. My hands are just twitching right now. The nerfs Sentinel received in the past month have culminated into a once was the best hunter in the game. Now I don't know if I can say that anymore. Don't get me wrong, a good Sentinel is still going to hoop ass, just to a lesser extent than before. Sometimes you got to take off the seatbelt and live a little, so I'm putting Sentinel in the A tier. Oh man, that felt good. Almost as good as divorcing my ex-wife and keeping the kids. Almost. Let's shift directions to one of the enemies of Sentinel, the Wookiee Graz. Graz is an interesting critter because he falls into the tank category. And as some of you know, the tanks have been dominating this game so far, but Graz falls a bit flat compared to them. I believe it has to do with his lack of range and mobility. His clubs do a good amount of damage, and if you're able to trap a DPS or healer hunter when you're beating on them, they're most likely dead. His movement speed on its own is quite slow, and his charge isn't that hard to dodge most of the time unless you're caught off guard. Shame on you if that's the case. Always watch your sick soldier. His ultimate very rarely hits me unless he's right on top of me or the unpredictability of the boulder gets me. But again, nothing that keeps me up at night like my ex-wife did. Just keep your distance and pick him off from a safe area. His health pool is super beefy, however, especially with his healing ability. He is a great sponge for control points and staying alive. A good Graz player knows this and uses that to their advantage. There's only a select few maps he's decent on. Other than that, you're better off following your heart and going after someone else. Like I did when I found out Fernando was coming over more often to quote-unquote fix our drain pipe. He was definitely doing some piping, alright? Graz goes into the B tier for me, Chief. And look who we got here, the Queen Zena herself in the flesh. Well, I guess a mix of flesh and metal considering her legs are well. How do I put this? I was never good with the ladies, this is awkward. Zena, being a support archetype, has a pivotal role to play during the match. A good Zena is making sure her team is staying alive and healthy, and a bad Zena is out ego challenging a Sentinel to a 1v1 like I do sometimes. Don't be that guy. After the nerfs that Scora has received, Zena has slowly inched her way up to, dare I say, the best healer? Maybe? Am I swallowing my food before chewing it again? Subscribe? Hotel? The problem with Zena's healing, however, is that she has a limited space of coverage for her back-to-bombs and even her ultimate, making it so you have to be put into the action if you want to keep your team alive, and if you aren't good at dodging and finagling, the team dynamic is not looking good. On the other hand, a very slippery and tactical Zena is a very hard kill. I think I'm doing too much with this ranking, but as a fellow simp, I want to put Zena in the A tier. I can see her being a B tier overall, but again, finessing hunters with your dodges and getting in those cheeky headshots does a lot for your team in the right matchups. Diago is our next hunter up, and oh boy, do I love this guy. Not sexually, just to clarify. More like a blow the top of someone's head off from a distance kind of love. I would say he definitely has a bit of a skill gap to learn at first. Most players are just going to use his hip fire to try and get kills up close, or sit all the way in the back trying to get a good angle. For the skilled Diago players out there, they're going to point blank dome you a couple times, and you're kaput. They're also going to be constantly moving and rotating across the map for good angles, knowing when to back off or get aggro. The hip fire is useful for finishing off a kill or getting quick damage in. His wall hacks ability is the definition of being locked in, but he uses sonar to track his enemies through walls a good distance away. Great for catching hunters off guard or flanking them. His mine can also have a lot of uses. Me personally, I like to drop from the top ropes onto control points like on Vander Railyard on B, pop a mine on a tank, and watch them get all wobbly with their vision blurred. Take advantage of them in their vulnerable state, get out of jail on bond, and secure a kill. Of course, you can use it to watch your back, trap a control point, and even in some cases knock enemies off the map. He is also one of only 2 hunters in the game able to use a grapple, and that's just his passive ability. I hope they put more grapple hunters in the game, considering the amount of ledges and areas you can grapple onto. I'm very surprised Jay, 3DI can't grapple ledges, considering he has a mechanical arm that can pull in other hunters on some Poppy Playtime gameplay. His ultimate might actually be the best in the game. The way he pulls out a railgun that can one-shot a good chunk of hunters is terrifying. His movement speed is greatly reduced, and you have to spend a good chunk of time reloading, but everything can't be great in life, get used to it. Maybe that's just the bitter post-divorce old man talking here, but that's beside the point. Diago is a very satisfying hunter to play, and the DPS he can rack up a game is outstanding. Diago is an A-tier hunter on my list. Scora, sweet Scora, what are we going to do with you? She's also been prevalent in the nerf circle with Sentinel. Thing is though, she's still very capable of being in top ranked matches and outputting a ton of healing for the squad. Her ultimate in the past being an S+ defense for control points is now only a fraction of the power it once had. Doesn't mean it's still not a great ultimate, however. This is a hard decision because I still think some would say she is still the meta healer, but the group healing of Zena and Sprocket might serve better as a whole in this new meta. I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the huevos to do it. Scora is still giving great value as a healer, even with all of her nerfs, will be sitting in the S tier for now. Let's talk about the Jedi wannabe J 3DI. You'll never be one of us, kid. He got a hefty buff this season to his ultimate and his pull. His base health pool and ability to constantly heal himself with his droppings, paired with his durable stamina blocking incoming fire, puts him more into the tank class than damage in my opinion. The only thing he has going for him is his pull-out game, pull ability, and even then it's not hard for most hunters to break out of his grasp. At least Reeve has a dash and leap to close gaps, but Jedi can have a harder time closing out kills. I don't know what kind of CPU he got in there, but he's just so freaking slow on some Windows XP type shit. He would greatly benefit from another ability, or even being able to grapple as I mentioned earlier. I'm just not a fan of him at the end of the day. He reminds me of defensive, passive Obi-Wan from the newer Battlefront, just not good dopamine for me to play as him. Droid Buddy is going in the C tier. Call it C for cannibalism with this robot on robot hate. Next up we got Charizard. Char received a massive, girthy nerf this season. His tether duration was reduced by a quarter second. I think little guy is going to be our first D contestant. Meet your roommate Sean Combs. That was sarcasm in case you didn't know. This robot is pretty deadpan with the way he talks, so probably got misconstrued along the way. In all honesty, Char is by far the most annoying hunter to deal with on this game. It's not even because of his snare trap or tether. Don't get me wrong, there are instances of inconvenience with those, but his regenerative booster is way too good. Once you damage him down from his massive health pool, he just pops his ability and you have to do it all over again. He's invincible at that point, and if you try to damage him, you're only giving him more health. Then when you try to walk away, you're getting tethered to him, getting a scatter gun to the face. I'd rather deal with his ultimate because he's actually vulnerable at that point and you can deal damage to him and take him out because his Regan just makes him a threat on the map at all times. Lot Lizard is going into the S tier. Very surprising, I know. Reeve is our only other Saber hunter, which makes me think when we'll get another Saber character Zynga. Reeve might just be the most skill gap hunter you can play. Do not just pick up Reeve and expect to start dominating. Her 150 base health pool and low stamina makes it considerably difficult to stay alive for long if you're getting targeted. A good Reeve is using her abilities to constantly drop in, do damage, and get out as soon as they can. Her Saber throw does a good chunk of damage, and is able to kill hunters like Scora with 150 health if your Saber hits on the throw and the return. Even if it isn't the best ultimate, Reeve has the most badass one yet. She pulls in all enemies around her, taking turns stomping them out with help from your team if they're there as well. Tanks have a good chance of surviving even if they were being pummeled by her the whole time, so try to use it when your team is around. Sentinel with a shield up doesn't get pulled if I remember correctly, which is totally balanced by the way. If fast-paced, run and gun is your playstyle, then I bet you'll love Reeve. But again, she will take some time and strategy to not constantly be dying the whole match. I would love Reeve to be S tier, but she is chilling in the A tier for now. Okay, fun's over. We gotta talk about Butthole Sprocket now. Sprocket is like that one kid in gym class who got picked last for dodgeball. Just sit in the back and throw us balls, kid. That's all you're good for anyway. I was that kid, by the way. Thanks for bringing it up, guys. Sprocket has been overlooked by most players, including me, as the worst healer, and even the worst hunter in the game. He has gotten a couple buffs as of now to try and get more players to use him. The first buff was something minimal about his scooter cart going faster, and the most recent one was also minimal damage increase by 1 point with his blasters, and the medical beacon cooldown being reduced. I don't want to judge him too harshly, because his med beacon provides group support instead of one hunter at a time like Scora. You are also able to give some damage reduction to a hunter for a short period, which is always good, but his ultimate just isn't that competent compared to Zena and especially Scora's. I feel that should just be a weakened ability for him and have some big damage reduction drone for his ultimate. I'm not too sure about Sprocket right now. I want to play him some more to see what his level is right now, but he has a lot of specific uses I feel could really help the team if used correctly. And the most off-putting thing about Sprocket is how easy you can pick him off if he's alone in like some dark alleyway or whatever. Out of all the healers, Sprocket is the easiest kill because he doesn't have a dodge like Zena or zoom like Scora, just a small speed boost when he's at critical health. I'm going to put Sprocket into B tier right now, but I'm still choosing the other healers instead of him and letting the other team take him because ain't nobody want that. Oh man, here we go. Let's talk about Utun. Utun was my main hunter last season, and for good reason. Bars. The ease of use and DPS he outputs was the best in the game at that point. Now taken over by another hunter we'll get to here soon. Utun is still a great pick if you just want to frag out and pub stomp. The highest elimination games have all mostly been by Utun's, the combo with his Ion Imploder, to suck off sucking enemies, paired with the Arccaster to shock them. And the hands-off pulse knockback damage will kill off 9 out of 10 hunters if they're not a tank. If you do manage to die, you will also drop a death nade that surprisingly gets a lot of kills from unexpected players. Utun has a solid ultimate as well. That Lazar beam rips apart tanks and anyone else in the way. Just be careful when you pop it as you're vulnerable during that time. Utun has my favorite loadout in the game, and for that reason he'll be heading to the A tier. We're getting to the home stretch here. I appreciate if you watched this far and didn't save to your watch later playlist like I do with any video over 5 minutes. Well, look what we got here. Another butthole tank hunter. Slingshot, if you don't know, has been dominating the top ranked matches for a while now with the other tanks. He's only received 2 not so threatening nerfs to his base blaster damage and his shield. Sling is still a menace to be dealt with. His tanky Droideka shield has to be taken off before you can get to his beefy base health. His rocket barges deal good damage as well, and his trick shot launch is also high damage dealing and just good for traversing the map. He is the best hunter for trophy chase hands down. He's able to get to the trophy in a blink of an eye and use his shield to stay alive. His ultimate is the best for grouped up close quarters combat. You can get good squad wipes with him. He is vulnerable during his ult, but you can also pop the shield and you most likely aren't dying with the shield on. I'm not sure how else to nerf him beside the shield HP, but he is just another amazing tank hunter on the roster. Give this man the S tier and get him out of here. Aaronal will be our last Hunter's Path character you can unlock, and that was just as of recent as before he was the Aaron paywall with the Battle Pass. I'm glad Zynga listened and made him so you don't have to pay for him now. Aaronal is actually the embodiment of run and gun because that's how he plays best. Your Omni movement dashes paired with the air assault make him annoying to gun down while getting beamed at with his pistols. His flamethrower ability is going to be dealing the most damage, however, so using that sparingly will yield good results. He's kind of on the level of Vex where his pistols aren't doing crazy damage to kill hunters, but your movement is key to saving you and keeping up the pressure. Every time I try to get away from an Aaronal, they're hauling ass, shooting me from behind. Even if they're at 1 HP, Buddy is still going to stalk you like some crazy ex-wife trying to see when the kids get back from school so she can kidnap them. I want to also give another award out for the most goofy looking ultimate ever. Why does Buddy look so stiff like a statue, floating majestically in the air, spewing out fire? I guess we'll never know. I'm feeling good today, so Mr. Tal is going into the B tier. Our next queen up is the Season 2 Launch Hunter K, A0S, also known as Chaos. She's been under the meta for most players. Her kit was made for melee, but her shield blaster combo is pretty darn good if you can get your headshots. Just expect to vent your weapon a lot, as you will be firing a good amount. Of course, as a tank, she has a beefy health pool, but the damage output isn't all that powerful. Her uppercut and backhand abilities are good for clearing enemies off points. Her ultimate isn't that bad, but it isn't anything special either. You have to be close to other hunters to pull them in. I don't have much else to say about her. I hate to compare people to other people, because that's shallow, but most of the other tanks just outshine her in all aspects, and that's why you don't see many people use her too often. I can't justify anything higher than B for chaos. B for beautiful, of course. Hey girl, when's the last time another machine like me treated you to some crude oil? So now that I saved the best for last, let's talk about our new hunter Pillbush. And I'm not joking when I say best for last either. Pillbush is an actual machine in the arena right now. Her grenade launcher does insane damage up close and can damage multiple hunters at once. Her overload ability makes her essentially tweak out, giving out a speed boost, faster reload speed, slower cooldown on the leap ability, and an armor equipped to her. What the hell else could you ask for? Her mechanical leap is also tactical in jumping up to rooftops on Vespera Row, jumping over obstacles to take shortcuts across the map, and slamming down on hunters to knock them back. Her ultimate cluster bomb, or as I like to call it, the clusterfuck, because that's exactly what it is. Throw down a batch of whiskeys to trap them in quicksand and watch all your enemies get blown sky high. And no, I'm not talking Michael Angarano. No actual counter exists except for Char's invulnerability potion. Balance, by the way. It's real easy to dodge Sentinel's knockdown shot with her leap and slippery speeds. If a college dropout like me can use her to push to top ranked, so can you. Pillbush is an S-tier hunter right now. There you have it. My Hunters tier list for Star Wars Hunters Season 3. Let me know where you would rank them, and what other tier lists would you like. I'm planning on doing one for the maps as well. Subscribe and stay tuned for more. I know you're watching this video, bitch. Your kids are as good as gone. Want me to spell it out for you? G-A-W-N gone. I found someone else. Someone who loves me for who I am. An artificial intelligence text-to-speech voice narrator. Her bolts are screwed on tighter than yours ever were. I hope that Fernando guy is taking real good care of you, because I don't ever want to see your outdated processor again.
Hey motherfucker, don't talk about my wife like that.
Wife?